This video is brought to you by SoundCore.
In front of me, I have tech ranging from tablets to smartwatches that cost north of $9,000 without any of the accessories, the majority of which I have purchased myself with the goal of experiencing the latest and greatest tech and experimenting so I can stay relevant and objective when I write and create videos on this channel. Since I keep sourcing most of the tech featured here myself, I had to, let go of some stuff and sell actually most of the items that I won't be keeping, so I figured this could be a great moment to share with you what I will get rid of and why, and what I'll actually keep and the reasons behind that decision.
Things I will say goodbye to don't necessarily mean bad tech, and there might be outside reasons or future plans involved in the decision, but aside from that, there are definitely baked-in factors that you might find useful if you were to purchase something on this roster. I have divided the items into 4 buckets and everything will be linked in the description below, so with that out of the way, let's start with the largest items: tablets. Here I have the Galaxy Tab S9 Ultra, the Surface Pro 9 and the 11-inch M2 iPad Pro. For once, the Apple product is the cheapest on this list. The easiest item to say goodbye to out of the 3 is the Surface Pro 9, although I really love the form factor and the, concept of it. I enjoy using a fully fledged operating system in such a stylish and easy to carry package, but the reason it's easy to say goodbye to is the Intel specs. Since the ARM version of the tablet hasn't evolved, software-wise yet, I went for the Intel Evo i7 version with 16GB of RAM and 256GB SSD. In my full review, which I'll link at the end of this video, I share how mediocre this device is both as a tablet and as a computer because it's crippled by its hardware. It gets hot without legitimate reasons, the battery lasts very little compared to the competition here, and its behavior as a tablet is just as bad as its behavior as a comfortable, lappable device. Truth be told, I really like the entire package, and maybe at another time I will have the opportunity to get back to it, but for now, it has to go.
Okay, so it is time for the super scientific lapability test of the devices, where clearly the winner here is the 11-inch iPad Pro with the Magic Keyboard because it doesn't have a kickstand and it's very easy to type without, something falling apart. But the problem here is that the iPad, at least this version, is very narrow. So, you have to sort of keep your legs together so that you can keep it in place. If this was the 12.9-inch version, that wouldn't be a problem. Okay, so this is the Surface Pro 9 with the extra sharpened kickstand on the back, which sort of gets under your skin if you are wearing shorts or skirt. The keyboard comes too much forward towards the body, so it's kind of uncomfortable depending on how you're sitting, of course. But if I want to move this back, then, maybe I can put it in this position. It's okay, but if it's like a normal chair, then it's not going to be as easy because that thing is going to fall down. So let's do the big boy. The best way that you can position this is if you have the kickstand, kind of squeezing your legs here. So if I have to type like this, it's actually fairly comfortable. The keyboard is big, it's very easy to use, and I love writing on it.
The next item I'm really struggling to get rid of, but I have to, is the Tab S9 Ultra. This is a beast that I really have to nitpick and create reasons out of thin air to, justify and say something bad about it hardware-wise, but it's actually awesome. This is hands down the best tablet for consuming content, period. It's super immersive, it sounds fantastic, and it lasts as much as the competition. But I have 2 reasons I have to say goodbye to it. The first and maybe primary reason is the fact that Android is still behind when it comes to Pro Tools. Despite having super rich library of apps, plenty are just resized smartphone versions, and when it comes to Pro apps that I use like Affinity Photo or Designer or Procreate, I can't justify it. The second reason is that I'm waiting for a maxed out 14-inch MacBook Pro, and having to hold 2 14-inch devices with me, kind of makes no sense. The one that I'm keeping, as you can guess at this point, is the iPad Pro for the aforementioned reasons. It supports the app that I need for work, it's smaller and easier to carry, and I can easily use it as a second screen with my Mac. Interestingly though, I'm actually this close to selling it as well, and I'll tell you why in a bit. Oh, and by the way, if you end up enjoying this video, subscribe because why not?
Now let's test the three devices in terms of sound quality and see what they, sound like. All three devices are at 80% volume. So let's start with the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 Ultra.
Pocahontas, got me staring, got me wearing strange stuff. You think I'm local? Pocahontas, got me staring, got me wearing strange stuff. You think I'm local? Pocahontas, got me staring, got me wearing strange stuff. You think I'm local?
Now clearly the battle here is between the Surface Pro 9 and the Tab S9 Ultra. Personally, I think the Ultra beats all of them because it sounds more punchy and immersive. The Surface Pro 9 is not as accurate as, for example, the iPad Pro, but the iPad Pro kind of loses the battle because it's like, very quiet and not very exciting. Let me know in the comments which one do you think sounds better.
Now let's talk earbuds, and I'll start backwards with the pair that I'm keeping. These are the SoundCore Liberty 4NC earbuds, and I love them. Here's why. The buds store 10 hours of listening time, and with the case, they can last 50. If that's not enough, aside from wireless charging, they support fast charging, where 10 minutes of topping up will give you 4 additional hours of rich sound, which can be tailored thanks to SoundCore's Hear ID feature in the app. Combined with the fully adjustable EQ and 22 presets alongside the 11mm drivers with LDAC tech, you'll have plenty of time to really enjoy your favorite music, TV show, or movie. I really like the unique 3-in-1 single button design, fast pair, and Bluetooth 5.3 multi-point connection, but what impresses me more is how comfortable they are. I can zone out for hours thanks to the adaptive 2.0 noise cancelling system that adjusts to the environment and ear canal in real time. So shrink the noise and grab your SoundCore Liberty 4NC pair and take advantage of SoundCore's Prime Day sale to get 20% off. Link below. The pair that I really had high hopes for is the Sony XM4. Sony has always given great examples when it comes to headphones, but these super expensive earbuds are really difficult for me to justify, and mainly because of the comfort aspect, and I think I know why. Generally, earbuds tend to have stems or have their internals below the, what goes inside the ear, where gravity sometimes plays an important role. These Sonys are the opposite to most everything else out there and have all the guts above the tips and what goes inside the ears, making them top heavy and most of all, top bulky. I give them to people around me to test them in terms of comfort, and no one found them bearable. No matter how good they sound or how many app features they present, I just, can't stand them in my ears. So they have to go.
Okay, so in terms of pocketability and portability, nothing can beat the AirPods. These are just tiny, no matter which version you have, whether that's the version 3 or the Pros. The Studio Buds are massive compared to the AirPods and actually compared to anything else. And it's not something that I'd like to keep in my pockets alongside, let's say, my keys, because it takes way too much space. The next best thing looks like the Sony's in terms of size, but the edges actually are quite sharp, which makes the SoundCores much more manageable and easy to put in and out of the pocket.
The translucent Beats Studio Buds are next to say goodbye to. They sound good, but they offer very little on the table. They lack automatic ear detection, H1 chip, but most of all, wireless charging. Honestly, I didn't expect, this to play such a role for me, but having surrounded myself with wireless chargers, I find it cumbersome to have to look for a cable to top them up, when I can just grab the much less expensive SoundCores, which support wireless charging, and just toss them in my pocket. Okay, so let's talk smartphones. I hear you asking me. The iPhone 15 content will start pouring soon, and I have quite a lot of it. In the meantime, since I've become a two-phone person, I have 3 Android devices that I have to choose from. The first Android that I'm selling is the Poco F5 Pro. It's a great mid-range phone, but with high-end specs, featuring a massive 6.67-inch display that runs at 120 Hz. Despite running last year's Snapdragon specs, this phone is no slouch, and what I like most about it is the wired turbocharging option, which I wish was available on some of the other phones that I'll show you, where 15 minutes of charge will be enough to top it up halfway. The second phone is the phone that I would recommend to anyone who wants to have a manageable device with a battery life like no other. I'm talking about the ZenFone 10. Despite being a similar size to the latest iPhone 15 Pro, this device outshines pretty much anything in that size when it comes to longevity. It's a device that you can easily use one-handed with its 5.9-inch display and weight of 172 grams. It comes in a variety of colors, crazy fast refresh rates, and amazing features, and if it wasn't for the next phone, I would have kept using it. Talking about the next phone, this is the Z Fold 5. This is a magical device that made me rethink if I should even care to carry a tablet while making any other traditional phone look dull. It's a phone that I can both use one-handed thanks to the narrow outside display or go berserk on the full-size software keyboard once I unfold it. It has proper file system, fantastic battery life, support for external monitors and decks, and so much more, all in something that I can easily carry in my pocket. This one I keep for sure, and if you want to learn more about my experience with the Z Fold 5, be sure to check out my day in the life video, which I'll link below. Next up, watches. Alongside the Z Fold 5, I decided to spend some time with the latest Galaxy Watch 6 Classic. As a fan of dark muted accessories, I went for the black version, which to me looks stunning and classy no matter how you dress it up. The most satisfying aspect of this watch is the bezel, which is tactile and tons of fun to use to navigate around the OS. At 47mm, the Galaxy Watch Classic doesn't look disproportionately large aside from the lugs that make the band quite narrow for this overall presence. With that in mind, I swapped the de facto band for an Aramid Fiber one from Pitaka, and now it looks much better, I think. I did have high expectations when it comes to battery life on this guy, but in order to make it last 2 days, I had to turn off the always-on display, which kind of made this watch lose its charm a bit. Despite that, the reason I'm not keeping it is because I find the Apple Watch much more useful in my workflow. Aside from just glancing at the time, I can unlock my Mac, use the Apple Watch as a remote for when I shoot videos with the iPhone, and most often authenticate when I purchase something. With that being said, it's time to move to the Apple Watch 9, which I will release a separate review video on very soon. In fact, I will refrain from going into details what I really think about it, but I'll tell you that I won't be keeping it as my daily because of the Apple Watch Ultra 2. The most striking watch out of the three is the Ultra, and I think the main reason for that is the width of the band, which makes it stand out, depending on which one you install on it. The 9 looks too much like any other Apple Watch, even few generations behind. The Galaxy, on the other hand, looks low-key nice, but it kind of looks like any Android watch that few people will recognize from a distance. We all know at this point that if you have the first-gen Ultra, it makes no sense to upgrade. But this is my job, and as my job, I will post a video soon reviewing the Ultra 2nd generation. I prefer larger watches, and that is one of the reasons I'm not sticking with the regular Apple Watch. I love the sheer presence of the Ultra and mostly how rugged it is. My first gen has suffered all sorts of drops, scratches, and impacts, and it still looks almost as good as new, and I'm sure it will be no different with Gen 2. Another reason to stick with the Ultra, aside from the perks of being an Apple Watch and communicating with the Mac, are the speakers and the mic, which I actually use a lot for conversations. Where before I rushed to find my phone if someone was calling, I now prefer to pick up from the watch as long as I'm not, disturbing anyone. Last but not least, it's the battery life. Do I wish a week or more of use? Absolutely, but at this point, I'm okay living with, 2 or 3 days of real life use. So if I put everything in one place, these are my main EDC tech items that I intend to keep for now. The iPhone 15 Pro alongside the Z Fold 5, Apple Watch Ultra 2, the SoundCore earbuds, and of course the MacBook Pro and the iPad M2. Everything else I will list locally, and I'll be sipping cold water while watching how much I lose on selling them. Anyway, I'm about to do a video on using the Z Fold and DeX in a desk setup, but in the meantime, feel free to check my iPad in a desk setup guide, where I showcase how the device behaves once it's connected to a fully fledged setup, docking station, speakers and all. Like and subscribe to the channel, as well as my newsletter. And as always, it's been an absolute pleasure. This is E, over and out.